There's a bullshit argument against Black Americans getting reparations. It's probably one of the most popular arguments against reparations for African Americans. When people say, oh, Black people today shouldn't get reparations because the people during slavery, the slaves during slavery, are no longer alive today. So why should the African Americans living today receive reparations? Because they weren't the actual ones who were going through that discrimination and oppression. Okay. But, okay, in America, when something happens in the legal system in America, when something happens to someone and they pass away, since that deceased person no longer can receive any benefits, like from a lawsuit or whatever, since they're not alive, they can't receive the money or anything from a lawsuit. The closest living descendant takes their place. So let's say something happens to one of my parents, and if they die, right? Since I'm the only living descendant, I'm the closest to my parent, since I'm the only living descendant, I can sue in the place of my parent. And legally, that's the same, logically, that's the same situation that African Americans would be in with the reparations. Right? Since you can no longer give our ancestors anything because they're deceased. The only living people to give that to are their descendants. I have another argument against people who are against reparations because they don't think that current current day African Americans should get reparations because we weren't the ones who were actually going through the slave oppressions. It was our ancestors who were going through the oppression, right? It wasn't us, so we shouldn't be the ones who get the money, which is totally bullshit. People act like the historical treatment of African Americans from back in the day during slavery and the Jim Crow days just ended. No, it didn't just end. I mean, what our ancestors went through in past generations still affects us African Americans in today. Our ancestors were oppressed, discriminated against, and their maltreatment from back then has it's one of the reasons why the African American community isn't in the best shape today. I mean, there is there are historical reasons on why the African American community today isn't in the best shape. It's just not a coincidence. I mean, the position that our ancestors were in, of course, it's one of the reasons why we're still in bad shape today. I mean, our ancestors didn't have as much of a chance to create wealth like white people were. We were shut out from different types of jobs. We got paid less. We didn't have the opportunity to get as much of assets. So our wealth, due to discrimination, our wealth wasn't as much as other races in this country. So our ancestors were able to pass on wealth to us because they didn't have the wealth. And in this country, wealth is passed down from generation to generation. Most wealthy families, even most wealthy white families, they didn't just get rich out of thin blue air, right? They got that wealth from their parents. Their parents got that wealth from their parents, and they passed that wealth down from generation to generation. And reparations for the current day African Americans that would closing up the deficit of wealth that our ancestors were stripped from. Our ancestors could have passed us down way more wealth, but because they didn't have the opportunity due to discrimination, something is owed to us, right?